There was someone who took pictures of the show and told me about it and sent it to their boss. And then their boss was like, it's like a consensual, funny human trafficking thing. And I'm like, okay, that's one way to put it.
That could be the new tagline.
Yeah, exactly. Human trafficking, but for everyone.
Funny.
Yeah, funny.
Welcome to Captured Curiosity, where we don't just talk about creativity, we explore the passion that makes it possible. And today, we have someone who took the two most painful things in life, dating and stand-up comedy, and turned them into a hit show.
Are you guys ready for the world's best comedy dating show?
Zahnae Aquino is a comedian, a producer, and the mastermind behind Fun Flirty, the dating show where people shoot their shot in front of a live audience. Think The Bachelor, but with jokes, rejection, and a whole lot of secondhand embarrassment. And without further ado, on to the show. So Zahnae Aquino, you are known for Fun and Flirty, which is Seattle's #1 comedy dating show, and then you also do stand-up on the side of that. You've been doing the show for quite some time. It's been wildly successful. I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it was a passion project turned into something. But yeah, it's cool to be defined by it now in terms of my introduction.
Yeah.
I used to be a corporate woman. Now it's not part of the personality, the persona. Mm-hmm. So it's been good. But yeah, thanks for letting me be on here and talk my stuff.
Yeah, so I have to ask, how did you manage to turn the wild world of dating into a comedy show?
Yeah, back when I was single and everything, I was talking to some friends about, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of stand-up comedy showcases around. I used to have a showcase underneath Fun and Flirty, but I was kind of bored with it. And there's so many of them. Yeah. And I was just thinking, if I'm creating something, it should be a little more exciting, more variety. So I started introducing the concept. As a woman of PowerPoint, I wanted to have PowerPoints involved in it somehow. And I was thinking dating profiles in general are very, they're very, how do I put it? They're very shallow.
Yeah.
In the sense that there's all of these defining characteristics that you list as soon as you open the app. Oh, here's my height, here's my political preference. These are things that I always buy for the table. And I always thought they were really not able to truly capture what someone is like in the real world. So it started out as a way for me to just create a satire of a dating profile. And it ended up turning into what it is today. So comedians would come in and they would pitch people whether or not they knew them prior to it. And with a PowerPoint presentation that I collected information on that person just for them to display their knowledge, display how to display the jokes about them.
Yeah.
that make the singles that are pitched more human to an audience. So It's been a wild ride, start to finish. Still a wild ride. I'm still on it. Roller coaster. No barrier or safety or seatbelt or anything. Yeah. We're just trying.
Whenever I describe the show to someone, I always describe it as like a comedian has a slide deck to pitch someone, and it's like half please date this person and half a roast.
Yep, exactly. It's a toast and a roast.
I love it.
So people just come together. There was someone who took pictures of the show and told me about it and sent it to their boss because they were curious because their boyfriend was pitching. And then their boss was like, it's like a consensual, funny human trafficking thing. And I'm like, okay, that's one way to put it.
That could be the new tagline.
Yeah, exactly. Human trafficking, but for everyone.
Funny.
Yeah, funny.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What's one of the more wild stories that you've seen on the show?
Oh, yeah. So there was one time, part of the show is that we bring audience members up on stage and we make them go on speed dates live in front of people and assess their compatibility after giving them a series of challenges or questions or something like that. And there was one time where it was two men on stage and one of the guys filled out the form wrong and he thought, he's a man, but he actually put that he's interested in men. So he thought, he's queer. Yeah. And then he didn't reveal that he was straight up until the very end and misled the entire crowd. There was another time where someone who was on Netflix reality TV was on stage and specifically requested, hey, I want to do a mating dance to Katy Perry's Never Really Over.
Hit it.
What is happening?
Don't worry about it.
It was really good.
It was real good. So he just flossed for like a minute and a half, and I was just, in awe. There's so many talents. And yeah, there was another time where someone's type was described as like a lumberjack, and we didn't think that there was any lumberjack individuals, except there was one in the shadows. So he came up on stage, shot his shot. There's been so many different tidbits and fun stories that have come out of the show, and I'm just in awe about how interesting people are actually. Surprised.
I'm still floored by the lumberjack one. It's like what, a 6'3" gentleman just walked out of the back, giant beard, man bun, flannel, and everything. I'm like, oh my god, you were built for this moment.
Exactly. And he came with a friend too, so he had no intention of being there for the girl specifically. He didn't know that she was being pitched, but he fit. I don't know where he is now. I follow up with the girl. We're still friends. And she said that he disappeared somewhere. It might be like a missing person
we should
thing.
Probably check on him.
Yeah, we should check on him. I only know his first name.
That's enough. Lumberjack and first name. We'll put up wanted posters.
Exactly.
We can do the whole milk carton thing.
Oh yeah, the milk carton thing. Let's bring those back.
What are some of the other success stories that you've had on the show?
Yeah, so there's been several. So the tagline of the show right now, I tried to make it quippy and short, and it's comedians get you laid. So that doesn't come from any sort of hypothetical. It actually happens. And I hear about that a lot. The most recent story that I know of was this girl got pitched on stage, and during her pitch, the guy pulled up her Instagram and followed her. And then afterwards, they were at Nacho Borracho across the street. I just started sucking face, making out. And I was just witnessing it. And that was the first time I've ever seen it play in real time. In person. And I took a photo next to them behind the booth. I was like, I was just like, what's good? And so, that was the thing. I don't know if they're still talking, but in terms of immediate results, that was something that happened. And then I have some people who are reoccurring characters on the show. Mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe it's because of their values. And they are there. And I think I'm fine with them because, sometimes people go on the show and I just hope that they get some action out of it. Because if people don't get action out of it, I take it on myself and I'm like, oh no, there was a bad pitch. We didn't put them or capture them properly. But there's people who go up and that kind of goes down. But like the FNF flirts, I'll call them that. Sure. They come up and they're consistent. Sliding in their DMs, and I'm like, hi, okay, take it. Thank you for shouldering this burden.
I mean, no, like I've, as a photographer who's been shooting for, I don't know, the last 14 or I lost count of how many of these.
Yeah, it's been so many.
But there's recurring characters and, you get to learn their personalities. I think some people in the crowd also recognize the recurring characters and it's a fun time.
Exactly. Retention's there. Sometimes people come into the crowd and they're like, maybe this recurring character is someone I can be with.
They will finally get love.
Yeah, finally get love. And then it's like an audience to to dating pipeline. Maybe, instead of friends to lovers, this is the new Wattpad trope we're going to follow through with.
What is one of your favorite pitches that you've seen? I have two that immediately come to mind, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah, one of my favorite pitches was Levi's of his roommate Kai. So it was two people who were roommates, known each other for a lot, and shared a wall. They share a wall. It's like 2 inches wide.
That's not
exactly, it's not. So they hear each other and everything. And Levi had this one joke where he was talking about, if you're into like, what's it called? If you're like into choking or like having a ball in your mouth, it's actually preferred so I don't have to hear you on the other side of it. And that was a great joke. And so that's one of the most recent ones that I liked, and everything that Bernice does.
Oh my, that's one
great.
of the ones I thought of. Yep.
Everything that Bernice does is great. Bernice is a great comic and is very skilled and well versed in the PowerPoint comedy world. She's done it like 6 times now.
It's so good.
Yeah, 6 times, and we're gonna get her a jacket. Recognize that she's been the most frequent pitcher on the show.
Most decorated.
Yeah,
now,
decorated. We're gonna get her. We're gonna make it cute.
I love it.
Yeah. So like in SNL where they have like the 5 Timers Club, we're gonna. I don't know what number we're gonna call it out. Maybe 7. I'll ask her to come back again. But yeah, it's been really good. So yeah, those are some high points. Yeah, like what was it when Bernice did a pitch of Brent, and then there was this part in the middle where it was just an interruption, like wee woo wee woo.
Uh-oh. Wee woo, wee woo. What's this? What's happening? What's going on? Dead mom alert. His mom died when he was 6. Can you fill the void?
Dead mom alert, because Brent's mom is dead. And he's just like, can you fill the void? And I'm like, it was
like, oh, Jesus. It was such a deadpan delivery.
Yeah, it was a
Bernice
deadpan
is
delivery.
So good at that.
Exactly. What about you? What are your
that was actually one of them. The other one that I thought of is one of the croc ones, the crocodile.
Yeah.
I think it was Chris. I can't remember which one, but he was getting pitched by like one of his best friends.
Yeah.
And they had that video segment. Oh my God.
Yeah. Bo like requested in the beginning, we need to create a remix of this Rachel Dolezal cameo that Chris received. And so he asked Shay, one of my co-producers, because she's a DJ and works in production, to just create this EDM remix of Rachel Dolezal calling Chris a coochie monster.
Stepdad just said that you're a little sad, you're a little down because you haven't found a girlfriend recently. You're okay. You have what it takes to, of course, get a girlfriend. Just takes the right girl.
I'm looking for a girl who's pretty, any type, doesn't hike, won't sleep outside. I'm Crispy here, and I'm the coochie monster.
You know, they said that they also call you coochie monster. They're pulling for their coochie monster. So, cheers to you. Go get that girl, but first of all, fall in love with yourself.
Coochie monster.
It was great.
And I think in the request video, they painted him as like, this person who just is not great with girls, doesn't get laid. Could not be further from the truth, but it's hilarious.
It was so great.
It was just like 3 minutes of, quietly roasting this person to a dance mix.
Exactly. And we all ate it. And yeah, he was unsure if it would translate, but the great thing about that pitch is that they did it knowing and loving each other, so everything that they put up on stage was for him, not for the audience. And I think that's the beauty of it sometimes.
I would love to see that video again. I think it's floating around somewhere. I'll find it.
I got you. I'll share the Google Drive. Like,
yes.
I watch it every day.
It's how you start the morning,
yeah,
right?
exactly. That's my alarm.
Do you ever get like a deep sense of satisfaction knowing that you connected to people out in the world through this show?
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. I think I've become the face of dating in a way, despite being in a relationship. I think matchmaking and stuff has just been tied to me. When I find out a success story or something like that, I'm like, okay, this worked. It's not built to work. I'm gonna be honest, it's built to entertain.
Of
But
course.
when it does work, I'm just like, great. Well, it's a great byproduct of my efforts.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one time a relationship came out of it. I learned about that. They're not together anymore, but it was like 6 months.
That's a good amount of time.
Yeah, a good like half a year that they came out of it. Someone hit up the person on stage. It was in Portland, and it was one of my friends too who was interested, and they ended up. She said that they had the best date she's ever had, and then they ended up just being together for a bit.
Yeah.
And that was great. Love taking credit for things.
I mean, 6 months is nothing to sneeze at. You can almost have a baby in that time.
Exactly. I was just like, wow, that would be a beautiful thing. Yeah, I want to hear about someone's first trimester. That's the next one.
We'll throw that on the success story.
Exactly. It's just the fun and flirty baby. That'd be great.
You got to name it after a
Yeah.
sponsor of the show, and then
Exactly. And I'll be the godmother.
Yes.
Give little gifts over time.
How do you go about guest selection and choosing people to come on the show and pairing them with comedians?
Yeah. So guest selection, we have an interest form that's like has 600 responses at this point.
You're
And-
so popular.
Oh my God. Yeah. We pull from it. It's been over the years though. So we pull from it based on like when people are available and if we think they'll have like a good support system coming into it. Because not just at a level of like, oh, people's friends need to buy tickets, but I also think like if you get put in that situation, you should have people there to support you.
Of course. Yeah.
And so yeah, they're mutuals, people we pull from the interest form, people that I meet at a party. I haven't been going to parties that much recently, but sometimes when I do, I'm out here talking to people. I'm like, are you single? Like, not for me. I don't want to date you, but
You got to clarify.
yeah, I got to clarify. And then in terms of the people that come to the show, our marketing is very much, it's colloquial in the sense that it's just my tone, my vibe. And so if people pick up on it, it's great. Like one of the first ads that we ran was like a collage, and then there was just text in the middle, and it ran like, hey babe, if you identify with any of the following, you're hot, you're an intellectual, or you've been ghosted by someone who vapes, please come to the show. And so there's like the mystery and allure to it. People don't know what they're signing up for sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the catches to it. And like in terms of capturing the audience, we grab a lot of people who just need something to do, and they can tell like, oh, this is probably my demographic that's coming through the things. We built our social media brand so that when you go onto the page, you just catch the vibe, but it's still mysterious.
Okay. No, I definitely like that. The guest selection has been absolutely fantastic. How do you go about pairing a comedian to them? Do you try to match personalities and styles?
Yeah, my ideal situation is that we have a match of personality or styles, or the sense that they're so different that I think if I trust the comic to be able to deliver well and everything, I'm like, this is outside of necessarily the people you would hang out with, but I think you'd have a great take on that. So that's just things that I have in mind whenever I'm trying to match people.
Okay.
But it's good. I think it's good. I'm involved in the PowerPoint creation sometimes.
Okay.
So I punch up and everything, and I've seen like thousands of slides at this point.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's been so many slides. So I try to encourage asking for my help as much as possible because I have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And just coming up with punchlines about different people. I'm so removed from the situation because I don't have to pitch them. So I'm like, I go full throttle. I'll say anything.
You know, I think that's better in some way just because you want that raw reaction. You want those raw emotions that coming with it. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it's just a matter of, what's it called? Because it's different than stand-up. A lot of people come up on the thing, on the show, and they think, oh, it's going to be just like a stand-up set. No, it's not. You have to put in like effort and thought behind it. So it's a little bit more of a time commitment for like a 10 to 12 minute slot. But I think people who really invest themselves in it see results, and like they get followers out of it too. Because people just trust that their comedy is good. If they're able to do a good PowerPoint, they're probably good at being funny.
Yeah. I mean, like some of the comedians that you have on, like Danny, for example, absolute powerhouse. You can just put him in almost any situation and he'll do great.
Yep. He's great. His delivery is great. He's a former youth pastor, actually. So he's really good at appealing to a variety of audiences. He used to bring them to God. Now he brings them to bed. Not his bed.
Same.
Yeah. Not to his bed, but to other people's. So it's been great. Yeah, he's one of my best friends in comedy. So I trust him a lot in terms of his delivery, and I just love working with him.
Yeah. Speaking of delivery, I noticed there are some new segments now floating around the show. The latest addition, I think, is you pull someone up from the audience, you plug their phone into the projector, and then you start swiping on their apps for them. Can you tell me a little bit more?
Oh, yeah, it's so funny because I used to do this a lot with friends. I would just be like, I'm so good at apps. Just give me your phone. I'm going to find you something. and being good at apps up in the air. But I like being funny on them because I think if I were to receive a funny and personalized message on an app, hypothetically, I'd be like, I'm more interested in this person. And there's been some times where someone I've swiped on brought their date to the show the next time just to let them know what's up, what happened, how we ended up here. So I'm really, it's great seeing the results of that, but I just do it for me. I think it's so funny.
You really get to have no filter, really just say whatever you want to say, put it out there, just see what happens.
Exactly. And like there's been some tropes that have been reoccurring. I love asking if people believe in science. I think that's great. Just leading with that. But yeah, so swiping on people's apps has been like a new feature of the show, and I think it's been great. Been received really well. Like Ryle, my co-producer and boyfriend, he put in a lot of effort to make sure that we're being seamless with it. We're making it as good as we possibly can right now. But yeah, that's being ironed out, one of the parts of it.
I mean, the effort definitely shows. Like, I would say this is true for literally any live production. Front of house looks incredibly clean, crisp, smooth, easy transitions. The back of the house is just absolute chaos.
Oh, yeah.
It's people screaming, stuff on fire everywhere. But that's just how live production works, right?
Yeah, that's how live production works. So we just have to adapt to all these different circumstances. And whatever's being thrown at us, we just have to make it work. But some venues require more attention to production than others. Sometimes we have a full-on team, like a tech team that comes with the venue, and I love that.
It's so nice.
I love that. It's just, I love just showing up, not having to worry about anything.
That's the dream, isn't it?
That's the dream. Yeah, and that's one of the things that my co-producers try to make a goal, is just not have me be stressed prior to the show. Because when I'm stressed during the show, I try not to have it show, but it affects me.
Sure, yeah, I mean, it affects everyone, of course. Speaking of venues, and to date the recording of this podcast, you were just coming off back-to-back performances at the Crocodile in downtown Seattle, and then the Pacific Science Center for a Valentine's Day special.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I like the two venues that I mean, there are two venues that I was really excited about. With the Crocodile, I took a jump last summer and asked for a show. And they were like, for sure. I had to give like my little spiel. Like, this is how much we're able to pack out a house. And I think we'll be able to be really functional and good in your space.
Yeah.
And then with the Pacific Science Center, they reached out to me because they created this event where it's like the Pacific Science Center after dark, where people come through and just have a cocktail hours, just a cocktail. I don't know, it's not an hour, just to
hang around,
get some drinks. Mingle. And then they've had DJs prior to this, but then they were like, we need to have a comedy show. And let's get that one comedy dating show that people talk about. So it was so fun. But yeah, and we had to make it science themed. And I was just thinking, okay, how does that look? But yeah, so we did like that pheromone bachelor thing where we had three contestants like work out in these shirts so that their pheromones would be displayed on it, and then one portion of it was just having the Bachelor smell the armpits of the pheromones and see which scents she liked the best.
I think it worked pretty well.
Yeah.
I would call it a success.
Yeah, just gotta iron it out more. But if we bring that to the main show, yeah, we'll make sure it's more seamless. But yeah, the giant lever we were next to, I was just like, people are gonna do reps on it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, we're gonna make it work. But yeah, it was really fun, and we have our science that comes. I guess like I was just doing my basic knowledge of science that I remember from college and high school, but it worked out. I wanted to have a speed date where they were racing against a titration, but
That'd be fantastic.
yeah, they told me that wasn't possible. So I was just like, I'm gonna adapt.
I mean, I think you worked it in pretty well with the whole smash or pass segment in the very beginning. You put in all of the famous scientists.
Oh yeah, Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Bill Nye has a greater sexual appeal than Neil deGrasse Tyson. We learned that. We learned that during the show. But yeah, it was real good. I think I had a fun time. I was nervous about it, but ended up working well. Just going on stage and melting into it. Because that's the thing. I just go up there and it's become like clockwork.
Yeah.
Because it's been so many.
You've done it so many times.
So many times I think we're hitting 50 soon.
Oh God, that's so many.
It's so many.
For a live production, that's so many.
Right? And that's just something. And like we're trying to wane off and being in Seattle as much and trying different cities.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's how 2025 goes. Hopefully,
Okay.
I guess we're kind of national because we've done 3 states already.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
Technically counts.
Technically counts. Yeah, we're just a big West Coast show, but hopefully I'm hoping to travel eastward more this year just to see what could work.
I mean, I think that's fantastic. And you can also capitalize on the momentum that you had. Like performing at the Crocodile, that is a huge feat. And you've done this several times.
Yeah.
And then had to have the Pacific Science Center reach out to you. Like your reputation is moving out. And this, your influence is spreading.
This influence is spreading. It's like if you Google comedy dating Seattle, we're like the top result, or like dating show or dating Seattle, we're up there. The SEO's really been turning. So I think, when people find out about me, I'm just like, oh, great. Because sometimes it's through a Google search. Sometimes someone comes to a show and they recommend it to the venue that they work at. And that's great. And it's, so like the Tomorrow Theater in Portland, it's part of the Portland Art Museum.
Oh, cool.
So when we went down there, it was because the Portland Art Museum reached out and they're like, come on through. And so it's been wild. Yeah, there's just so much momentum and I'm trying not to lose it by making the right calls.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll see.
So in contrast with all of the momentum that you have right now and all the success, what was it like in the very early days preparing for that first show, getting everything together?
For the first show, I remember I was nervous, so nervous because Comedy Bar, which opened like that month, we were one of the first weekday productions that they put on. So the show happens primarily on Thursdays. But when we were there, I had no idea how it was going to go. It was like those pitches would happen, and in between pitches, I'd have stand up.
Yes.
And then that ended up getting taken out in the iterations, but I was just still attached to the stand up showcase thing. So in between, there would be like different segments. And prior to that, I would have we started this format of the show with the slideshow pitches in May of 2023.
Okay.
But I've been producing shows since like let me see, when did I start comedy? 2021. Yeah, I've been producing shows since 2022.
Okay.
And so those shows would be more stand-up showcases, but in between the stand-up, I just have different segments that I would think would fun. Instead of smash or pass, it'd be like fuck, marry, kill. And then we would do that. And then also like different games with the audience. And then I like that because I think, keeping an audience engaged is part of having a good production.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so the first show in this format, I was the only one running production and performing. There'd be stand up and then there'd be these pitches. And I like to think that, I mean, we've iterated since then, but we were just doing so much in the beginning, and I had to learn how to cut out the extra, just trim it down a little bit. But I think, yeah, I was just so nervous. I wasn't sure because no one was really doing anything like this in Seattle.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was doing something like
Yeah,
this.
so there's been a resurgence of concept shows in Seattle, and I like
I
to
have
think,
noticed that,
yeah, I like to think that I did something to inspire that. But yeah, it's just so much. It was so much in the beginning, and now because of my co-producers, I don't have to put as much. What is it? Footwork or not leg work? I don't know.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't have to put as much of my own effort into it, and I could delegate. I love delegating.
It's so nice.
It's so great. And yeah, I think overall the show has evolved to where it is now because in the beginning I would try to make a change every single time. Every single show, when it was just running on a monthly basis, I'd be like, okay, this is what we're changing this time because this is what we learned last time. We're going to keep doing it. And I think for the most part, it's been translating well. And I'm no longer wanting to simultaneously poop my pants, piss myself, have oil just explode out of my pores and throw up anymore. Yeah, that came with like experience through doing the show and also just honing in my stand-up and performing. So I think there's been a lot of change. It feels like there hasn't been as much because all the changes were small and iterative, but because there's been so many shows, I think we've created it to be what it is now.
I mean, that's huge. That process of iteration and improvement is massive. Like, I can't tell you how many times in my career I had an hypothesis and then I tried it and it just fucking didn't work.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
But to try it in front of a live audience and get the feedback and say, okay, now let's change this. Try it again and again and again. You get to dial in the settings.
Exactly.
And you just get to see what
yeah,
works.
dial in the settings, see what works, just really iron out the show concept. And you're right, there have been some things that haven't gone as well as I'd like to. But we've, cut out the stuff that hasn't worked, put in stuff that has worked. Overall, just tried to do our best in terms of making it happen.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. It's been a wild ride changing the dial.
If you had to give any advice to someone who wanted to start their own concept comedy show, what would you tell them?
Pick a concept you'd have fun with.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, when you're creating a concept show, think about what the audience would like, but also think about what you'd want to watch. What's interesting to you. Base it off other things. It doesn't necessarily have to be other concept shows. Like, I really liked Next, which was an MTV reality show.
Oh, wow.
Remember that?
We're really reaching back.
Right?
Yeah,
Really
okay.
back because it would be, what is it? These people would come off of a bus and they would go on a date with someone. And then if the person they were going on a date with didn't like them, they'd say next. And then the next person on the bus would come up. But I really liked in the beginning of the show where people would come out and there'd be a quick profile and it'd just be funny. It'd be like, athletic, loves to bike, lives with mom, those sorts of things. And I think, just, and I really like that part of it. So the show kind of was loosely based off of that. Was an inspiration for me. And so there's been concepts that have been tried and true, and just finding inspiration and having fun with it are my recommendations.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because you have to do it all the time. You better enjoy it.
Yeah, you better enjoy it. It's one of those things where if you find yourself in the position where you can turn your passion projects into something that is lucrative, if you hate it, it's like hating your job.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
and you don't want to be involved in the job, and then you're just like stagnant and you're like, I don't really want to invest more time with it. I'm going to stay in this position and not necessarily try to grow. And growth is something that's a priority for me. So other people may say things that are different about that, but in terms of creating a concept show that can grow, it's a matter of just falling in love with it.
Okay. Speaking of growing, it sounds like Fun and Flirty is in, the stages of growing right now. You're trying to expand. What What are some of the challenges you're running into in that expansion, in that growth?
Oh, yeah.
Scaling is hard.
Scaling is so hard. New markets.
Yeah.
I generally think that the demographic that comes out to the show are, people's in their 20s and 30s that have been victims of what dating is like, the trauma of it all, someone that's been on the apps. And I try to find neighborhoods in different cities that fit that, or different cities in general that have that culture built in some aspects.
Yeah.
And I run the same marketing scheme of like, hey babe, if you identify with blah, 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 someone who vapes, I try to run like an ad for that show in those new cities, and then also try to find a venue that's in a neighborhood where there's like bars, people go out,
Yep.
and also reach out to them in a way that they're like, okay, I like it. And it's easier in places where I know people.
Oh, sure.
But if it's just like cold turkey, I don't know what's going on. That's way more of a challenge. So yeah, I think in terms of growth, it's just a matter of figuring out who will like you.
Okay.
And going with it. And if there's an event or a situation where you're not having, or you're not tapping into the market, being able to roll with the punch and maybe even canceling something.
Sure. Yeah.
I haven't taken the risk of putting myself in a city where I don't know anyone yet. But that's probably going to be something that I have to figure out as we go into this year, and where the shows will be and what's it going to look like.
I mean, growing pains, right? We're going to learn some
yeah.
things. We're going to burn our fingers a couple times,
Exactly.
but it'll be good at the
It was
end.
the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Okay. I can see the show format doing really, really well in college towns. Essentially a bunch of like, late teens, early 20 horny singles, right?
Exactly. We're trying to go to Bellingham in the
Ooh.
next couple of months, so we'll see what happens there. Yeah, like all the college towns, places where there's just a place where all the yappies go, where there's like transplants that have these desires, but don't know where to channel them.
Yeah.
Places where there's a lot of like speed dating events because there's people who want to meet people.
Yep.
Those are things that go into the market research. It's such a weird way to put it, but
I know what you
market
mean.
research. But yeah, sometimes my market research is literally just stalking the city on Instagram.
I mean, isn't that what research is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and especially when I have to find people to get pitched on the show and I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
There's been a couple times where I've literally just looked up the city that I'm in, tag, and on Instagram, and I just scroll through it and look at people who have tagged the city, and I'm like, I'd be sitting there like, do they look single?
Are they a serial
Are
killer?
they a serial killer? Like I'm on someone's page and I'm like, I don't see them posting anyone of the opposite or any couple. No couple photos on this. I think I'll try to reach out. There's been a couple of influencers in the area that I've tried to reach out to, sometimes to some avail. And then there's also been like, there was a time when I was just messaging all of the Portland Trailblazers. Just hoping.
Okay, so part private investigator, part stalker. And
Yeah.
just kind of blur this.
Blurring the lines and just like, finding single people is just harder than, you would like it. But when I put the interest form, boost that in the cities that I'm in sometimes just to get a pool of people.
Okay.
But it's just so funny when I when I have to go through means of just not, because going back to what I was saying, it's just like finding someone that has like people who would support them. It could be like their own following. It could be like friends, someone that, I could draw. That would have some sort of draw, not only for, my ticket sales, but also for that support.
Of course, yeah. Have you noticed any trends in dating over the last, 2 to 3 years that you've been running this show?
Oh, yeah. I think Seattle's been ranked the #1 city for dating, by some guy.
Who?
Yeah, some guy.
Have they tried here?
Yeah, I know. And I was just like, this is obviously not from someone that goes around going to the city and tries dating there. But I think there's a lot of first dates in Seattle. There's a lot of first dates. I think in terms of number of dates, you could be on a lot of first dates. And, it's the kind of thing where a lot of people are just willing to take the risk to meet people. But then the pickiness and the expectations of all their boxes being checked kind of like what is it, muddies the continuation of dating someone. So I think, from the show, I think a lot of people have gotten first dates from it, but not necessarily followed up afterwards because they realized incompatibilities, or again, their boxes weren't being checked. Back in the day when I was single, I had this one tweak where I would go on a different first date every single day.
Oh God,
just
okay.
consecutively, just to see if I could, if I was putting that energy out there, if it would have some returns. And it did. I would
that's
say,
good.
I met someone really cool through that. But it was just so many first dates. I had like a whiteboard, and I just list everyone out. I'm like, these are the
make
things
a
I like.
system.
Exactly. There's this thing. These are the things I like. These are the things I don't like. These are the things that we can improve on. But so I think like there's a lot of people out there where you can. I think people like it when there's follow up and when you actually can meet. But in terms of continuation, that's the harder part.
It's super hard. One, I like your process of start, stop, continue. It's very corporate. I see the jobs pulling over.
Exactly. My skill set.
There you go. But no, you're right. I've noticed in Seattle, like there are a lot of first dates that happen, but there are a very few amount of dates that continue past that. As politely as I can put this, I think some people's standards are just too high.
Yeah.
I think they have to drop them just a wee bit to get that compatibility going, spend a little bit more time with each other, realize you actually do have things in common, and follow those.
And that's why I like Fun and Flirty in the sense that instead of just spending a minute or two on someone's profile, you have to sit there for 10 minutes and get the human that comes out, someone who's on the stage that takes some courage. Also, I think sometimes back in the day, people would just be willing to approach people and everything. Like, I'm confident that, or no, not confident per se, but I'm interested in this person. I'm going to approach them in this place. But a lot of the time when that's been like decreased over time because of the presence of apps, and there's this wall of like hesitation because you don't know if this person is single, if they're open to even considering a date. But if you're on Fun and Flirty, you are first of all demonstrating that you're single, and then you're open to it. Second of all, you have at least some confidence to be put up on stage like that and be willing to get roasted in front of a crowd of strangers. And so that sort of hesitation, that wall just goes down. But for the most part, I think, people are hesitant. People don't have the confidence. People in Seattle have that freeze, And that's why I think a lot of speed dating events are able to pull people out, because it's like going into a space where everyone's consenting and looking for something. And you can't necessarily guarantee that at the coffee shop you see, or the hottie at the grocery store. You don't know. You don't know. But I think, for the most part, standards are really high because I read this book. My mom got it for me like a while ago. It was called like How to Not Die Alone.
She loves you, I can tell.
She loves me. She's just like, find someone. But one of the parts that I remember reading about really was there was this chapter talking about, on a dating app, you could paint this picture. Like the first thing you do, as I mentioned before, is just pick the characteristics or the qualifications of someone that you want. And so it set out this expectation for you that someone who fulfills all of those standards exists out there. And they exist out there perfectly. You'll have full compatibility with them. And it's created this fatigue. So when you're swiping through people, sometimes you're just swiping left, not knowing, this is actually someone I could get used like because they're not fitting my boxes. They're not that avatar, that avatar I've created. And so, I'm all about humanizing people. I'm all about putting situations into place where we're, fighting that like trend. So yeah, like not everyone wants the 666. What is it? 6 figures, 6 feet,
6-pack abs.
6-pack. Yeah. Yeah. That's like people say that, but at the end of the day, like you just want someone you connect with.
I mean, there's so many tropes. There's like what, the 6 foot blue eyes works in finance. That
Oh
whole thing
yeah. Yeah. And I'm just like, you don't need all of that. My boyfriend, he's 6 feet, blue eyes, but works for me.
Hey, some people like that, right?
Exactly. Doesn't work for me, works with me. By the way, if you're listening to this, I just said works for me because I thought it was a
love
fun
you,
thing.
Ryle.
Yeah, we love you, Ryle. Yeah, he's doing great.
Okay. But no, I think the live components and being able to actually sit down and have like a real-time conversation is huge. I would argue 10 minutes in person is worth like 3 weeks talking on the apps, if not more, right? It's huge.
Because it's like when you're on the app, sometimes I spend 3 months in the shower and I don't respond that fast. Back in the day. No, I was really accustomed to the apps. I was big on Tinder in college. Got big on Hinge post grad.
Yeah.
And did it make me the better person? Now I'd be matching with people, like really interested in people that had like 2-word responses in their prompt. I'd just be like,
It's like, come on, you guys.
yeah,
Like, what are you doing?
exactly. It's like, what's something I'm really good at? Making toast. I would be like, it's so funny. I want him.
You have such a great personality.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's all about, people just need to be, people just need to be more than a profile.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I feel like the ability to just talk and have a conversation, be charismatic, walk up and say hi. Just a little bit of confidence just doesn't exist.
Yeah, confidence does so much because, it's, first of all, if you're being confident, you are willing to you put yourself out there. I read this, I forgot where it was from, but it talked about reframing rejection.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to take 49 rejections for you to get the perfect one. So instead of seeing rejection as something that's soul crushing, seeing it as a prerequisite.
Yep.
And I've been preaching that for a minute because I think like a lot of people are afraid to not just put themselves out there, but apply for a job, try something, they're not necessarily skilled at. I tried pole dancing once. No, I signed up for 4 classes, took half of one. And that was one of those things where I feel like if I went back there and tried, I'd be able to build some sort of skill. But, I drew the line there.
But yeah, if you ever want to try that again, I know a bunch of owners of pole dance studios.
And I was just saying, that's it. I got to work on my core. Like my prerequisite is just core strength, and then I'll show up.
See, I have the opposite. I have all the strength in the world and none of the flexibility.
Oh my god, yeah, flexible. Yeah, and it's just the thing, stretching. I used to go to hot yoga. Oh man, I'm hitting that stretch right now. I used to go to hot yoga, and I was way more flexible than I am now. I've just been so tense, and then I've learned that because I'm pretty good at hiding how stressed I am, but I'm a pretty stressed and anxious person. I have the most tension in my body out of, I've gone to masseuses and they've been like, this is crazy. And I'm like,
what the fuck have you been doing?
Yeah, I know. I was just like, I've just been worrying, existential. This is the result of an existential human.
There you go.
Yeah. But I think for the most part, it's all about, just taking risks. There was this high school oratory speech by Josh Gad in like 1998 that I watch sometimes. And there was just one part of the speech where, so typically I did speech and debate.
Okay.
And when there was an oratory section, people would just write a 10-minute speech and just deliver it, do like a 3-point walk where they would have the introduction, 1 point here, they'd step to the front, 1 point here, they'd step to the left, 1 point here, they'd step to the right.
Yep.
And he did something different where he just sat sat down during like a middle of it, but it was actually like some sort of motif being like, oh yeah, I'm sitting down because and this is technically a risk, and my coach is probably like, what is he doing? But by sitting down, I'm, you know, making a statement like, this is going to be something you remember.
Yeah,
it's a risk. And I think that's kind of something that's stuck with me a lot, like creating the show and everything, even though it's a concept, just not really having full guarantee that it'd be successful. We were able to sell at our first show. And thank you. And it was like it was a shot in the dark. That was the deal. But I was fully prepared if the concept didn't work to just move on and find something else.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you don't know until you try. Like, it really is a leap of faith into the darkness, and you just gotta hope for the best.
Exactly. Like, we'll hope that we land on something. And if not, we're just gonna fall for a little bit and land on something eventually. Even if that's the darkest depths of the ocean, there's a ground.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, what was an alternative concept that you were flirting with, if not Fun and Flirty?
Oh, yeah. No, there was this... Before Fun and Flirty as the show, it was like a production sort of company. So I'd have like different shows, but at the top would be like Fun and Flirty Presents something. Sure. And so one of the shows I did before was Fun and Flirty Presents Cheap Therapy. And what would happen, it'd be like stand up, and then in between there'd be like improv games where the stand-ups would just give advice to the crowd.
I love that.
Yeah, so even though these stand-ups didn't necessarily have the life experience or wisdom to be giving advice, it'd be like, you bought a ticket, we're gonna solve some problems.
Yeah.
We're gonna solve some problems. And I remember I did that for a bit, and it was fun, but it felt like, you know, not to be like, this is something that could be easily replicated, but it was more like, it felt like it was missing something.
Sure.
Like, I love stand-ups giving their opinions out of their sets. But I was just like, I wonder, what if... And then, also another thing I would do during that show is I'd have this little bit where I'd be like, oh no, someone on our cast got into a car accident. Does anyone here have a 5 to 10 minute talent? And I hired a magician. I hired a juggler. Okay. And to just come up on stage and just do their little thing. And that would be like a little break during the show. But yeah, in terms of those concepts, they still had stand up in them, but that was always something that I played with for a bit. Yeah. And it was good in the sense that it was fun, but it wasn't really something that stuck.
Yeah. It's so funny, like, when you look back at people's histories, like, you can see the different elements and pieces that are now in the final product in a more refined form, but you can see how they tinkered with concepts and ideas to, you know, eventually make the thing that's successful.
Yeah. And yeah, people just think that I came up with this out of nowhere.
You woke up one day.
I woke up one day. Thanks. I was just like, this seems like a great idea. I can't believe I woke up and I just had a vision. Now, it's been a culmination of experiences I've had, conversations I've had, things I've read that created what it is today. Yeah. I gave like a TEDx talk in college, and that was like one of my first exposures to giving a PowerPoint presentation. And I remember the best part of that talk was the part in the beginning where I threw some jokes out and I had a slide, and I was just like, that's something that stuck with me for a while. And then I remember there was a conversation in my Nissan Altima with one of my best friends, Jesse Warren. He tours the Tech Growth show, and he was telling me, like, Zahnae, there's a market for dating in terms of entertainment. Like, all these cities, in Austin and New York, there are dating shows there, but there's nothing like that in Seattle. So like those two things, along with that book I was talking about, and also just this need to do something different, we're all part of the genesis of this show. Okay.
It's so funny because, you know, I've shot like 14 or some large number of these. Now I'm finally piecing the things together of how this came to be, all the different components, how all these different people I've met fit in with each other. Yeah. That's fascinating.
Exactly. And I love like the team that's come out of it. Like you, Brent, Shaylee, Ryle, and then, you know, people who put the chairs back consistently. Yeah, like everyone has like a piece that they contribute to it, and it's great to just be part of it.
Yeah.
To lead the fight. Send out the Venmos. You know, that's my favorite thing to do.
Sure,
No,
yeah.
I think for the most part, yeah, like people who come into it all have created. The ones who are around it consistently are ones who have created a role for themselves, and each of those roles have helped to grow to be where it's at.
Yeah.
And I think it's great because it's like gives people a vessel to display what they got going for them,
Okay.
but also like. Yeah, there's so many different parts of it that have made it what it is today. And I mean, it's the thing where there's something, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Of course.
Fun and Flirty took a while to get its footing. And I'm just honored to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
People just want to know. And I'm just like, okay. I know
I'll
it's
tell
giving
you
me,
things.
yeah, I'll tell you things. I don't really know if I'm like an expert in everything that I talk about per se, but I do think one thing I can bring to the table is just the experience to have it be where it's at today.
Yeah. I mean, you've gone through the life experience of building this thing. There's a wealth of information and knowledge there that you've, you grabbed life and you said, okay, let's try these things. Let's see if it works. You experimented. There's a lot of value to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, thank you. There's a lot of value to that. And I think, doing something different. I've always done something different throughout my life. Every space that I was in, I've always just like, I gotta do something weird, because I knew I was never going to be the best in any given space. I was never going to be, I was a computer science major. I was never going to be the best coder. I was never going to be the best.
I feel that.
Yeah, right. I was just like, you're not going to catch me. Couldn't be a code monkey. I get so bored.
I was dead average for my coding.
Right. And I was just like, I'm not going to be the best one. My code efficiency was never good. And then I was never going to be the best, the funniest stand-up in the world, at least at the point where I was at. And also, what was it? I was never going to be the best debater in the world. But what I did was I created something in that space where I found it to be fun.
Sure. Yeah.
And because I think I have this tendency to get really invested in whatever interest I have.
Yeah.
And yet creating something out of that has always been something that I looked for. Because, when I'm like midway, or if I'm like a couple months or even a year into something and I feel myself needing to switch it up, that's usually when I start ideating about what could be different.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a fun ride. It's a cool way to live.
I mean, it's super exciting. No show is ever the same. Things constantly change. It keeps life fresh.
Yeah, and it's the ADHD and
I mean, that's it, right?
that too. I'm just always like, okay, I've been doing this a lot. How can I iterate or change it up a little bit? So I didn't think about it because I'm just like, when a new thing gets introduced, it makes me so anxious. And I'm like, hey, time to be anxious.
Yeah, what's
Oh
up?
my God, yeah, we gotta time to schedule my anxiety. Now I'm a little paranoid. Yeah, but
I feel that. Right now I have like 4 competing passions and I'm like, if I just picked any one of these, I can do it and be successful.
Yeah.
But I love all of them. And
yeah,
it's so
loving
hard.
all them. You're a multi-hyphenate, I think multi-hyphenates are great. There is this, oh man, this is totally unrelated, but one of my comic friends said this one time, Zach Fox.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, back in the day, I only needed one job if I wanted to support a family. But now in order to have 2 families, I have to be a multi-hyphenate. And the thing about him is that he's built this portfolio or this thing where anything he wants to try, he'll be successful at it.
Good for
or
them.
be like able to sell it out.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like a DJ, an actor, a comic, and people are just kind of into whatever he puts out in the world. And I think that's kind of where I want to be, where I'm just existing and it's profitable, in the sense I'm doing things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're on the same boat. We just want to do what we want and, be able to sustain a life out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fun thing about like experience and wisdom and knowledge. Like you gain these skills and you get to take them with you into whatever the new endeavor is. Like you've, I don't know, already learned how to get to level 3 in life. Let's just use the concept. And if you're going to go start another business, you know how to get to level 3 pretty quickly because you've played these levels before.
Exactly.
You can almost speed run to get to the same point.
Oh yeah, totally. Because I built my ability to speak and riff and everything through so many different things. I talked about how I was a speech and debate kid. I was a tour guide in college.
Oh, okay.
Walked backwards all the time. Would tell people jokes and talk about things, and also I'd have bits in the tour. So I was familiar with rehearsing something over and over again, and then. Off the Top, which was a show I used to do every Sunday for 2-3 years.
Okay.
And what that show was is that you'd have a PowerPoint slide and people would come up on stage and try to come up with jokes about that PowerPoint slide. And at the same time, I would be in the back riffing with them.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how I built my quickness.
Okay.
And all of that has come to fruition in terms of that skill and all those skills to helping me be a good stand-up and helping me be a good host.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just a hostess with the mostest. There's people want me to host so many things, and I'm like, I'll try.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
We'll
I
see.
guess. Like, I'm flattered, but yeah, like one of my friends, he's running for state representative.
Oh, cool.
And as part of his campaign, he wants me to like host events.
What?
And I'm like, yeah, so I'm starting my political career.
I vote for you.
Thank you. I was just like, okay, I don't want to hijack your campaign, but I'll do it. No, I think he's great. So yeah, there's met so many people through those avenues, and I feel good about it.
I mean, you just kind of level up in life and your skills, and you just get good at things that you do more. It's just straight reps at some point.
Exactly. If I did that with my ab workouts, like crazy, I'd be so shredded.
But that's less fun,
Exactly,
right?
less fun. You don't get necessarily immediate validation from that. And that's one thing I love about comedy is like you throw something out there and you know if it's good, people are laughing
Right away.
Yeah, right away. And it's really not helped with my patience. But that's something that I keep in mind.
I mean, I feel that. Just also like the ability to make a room laugh is a lot. Someone they described stand-up to me as just speaking your trauma but into a microphone.
Oh yeah, speaking your trauma into the microphone, because it's like I've heard a lot of different things about stand-up, like the stand-up's they're modern day philosophers, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But there is some truth in that, because what stand-up does is that you give your own spin on a topic, on an experience, and that is something like it's always about something you put thought into.
Yeah.
You could give like a misdirection or a new perspective on something,
Yep.
and you say something that will resonate with people. Like I think the best stand-ups are for sure someone who makes you feel something, but also someone that makes you think about it. Like, when you recommend someone's comedy, it's not because they're like, oh, they're funny per se, but one of the things as to why they recommend them is because they said something that stuck out to you.
Yeah.
And because there's so many stand-ups in this world, not to say it's a saturated market, but like if you go to an open mic, if you watch a special, there's so many specials on Netflix, and I think or Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus. But there's so many like hours out there. There's so many 5-minute sets out there that, the people who get people to invest in them are always ones that are consistent in making them feel something.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's, not to put a tier list on this, but there's the comedians that they have their bits. It's kind of funny. It's whatever. But then you have the greats like George Carlin or Bill Burr. I'm considering him a modern day great.
Yeah.
But they make you think about it. There's like a social commentary. There's layers to this.
Yeah, there's layers. There's like, I heard that there's 3 levels of humor. There's like the low level humor, poop jokes,
Slapstick,
slapstick, street jokes. Second level, those are more like saying things that are objectively funny, kind of like John Mulaney's like comedy sits here, like a lot of stuff on SNL sometimes. And then there's higher level humor. John Mulaney also exists here, but it's high level humor is or like the third tier is more based on insinuation.
Okay.
So like you're laughing at things that are implied more so rather than said explicitly.
Yeah.
And if you find level 2 humor funny, you kind of stay there. If you find level 1 humor funny, you kind of stay there. But if you find level 3 humor funny, you find the high level and the lowest level funny. And so I'm just like, okay, that's one way to look at it. And I think everyone has their taste.
Okay.
I learned, this is funny. So people talk about like, when it's a difference between wanting to date someone who is funny and wanting to date someone who has a sense of humor. If you want to date someone who's funny, they have their bits, they have their riffs. But if you want to date someone with a sense of humor, which is predominantly what people want, you want someone that'll laugh at your jokes. So you not necessarily need to have their own thing. But
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, that's true.
I agree with that,
Yeah.
definitely.
But yeah.
No, the 3 tiers of comedy is really interesting. Like, I love my comedy, which is a little dose of existential dread,
Yeah,
right? Just to think
yeah.
about it for a little bit, keep you up at night.
Exactly, like existential dread. I love just, I hear something from someone, and if it's too dark, I've been getting into dark humor recently. I don't know what that says about
It's a very
me.
millennial
Yeah,
statement.
very exactly. And I'm just like, I've been getting into that. I think I do love comedy that comes from like a lived experience. That was my thing for a while, where I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to trust what you're saying. I need you to be funny because I trust you.
Yeah.
You can't just get away with saying this if you didn't build that rapport.
Of course.
But now I've recently been getting more into observational stuff, just sort of comedy where like it's like a misdirect or a twist on something that everyone experiences. Like Seinfeld writes like this.
Yeah, yep.
And I was like, okay, this is more something that I don't know if I laugh all the time about, but I have more appreciation for.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people that'd be like, that's funny. Not laughing, but just like, okay, yeah, that's good.
It resonates with me.
Yeah. I think when I hear jokes now, in my mind, at least when I'm watching stand up, I go through the setup and the punchline, and like sometimes I predict what the punchline is. So I don't even really laugh when I watch stand up anymore, because I'm just like, this is a mental exercise for me now.
You just appreciate the art form.
Yeah, I appreciate the art form. I see the strokes that they put in on their painting, and I'm just like, I'm appreciating the art rather than the final product. But yeah, it's a real wild ride, just seeing all the different things that have changed from how I was like 3 or so years ago, and how I consumed comedy, how I presented myself.
Yeah.
And I think I've become more authentic over time, and also more authentic in my taste.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, just to be able to look back and see the changes in growth, it means you're growing. This is a good sign.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly.
with my photography and my videography, I look back, I'm like, Jesus fuck, who made this? It's terrible. And I'm like,
Right.
oh yeah, that's right. It's me. Cool.
Oh yeah, it's like that was the past me. Comparison is a thief of joy, but the only person you should compare yourself to is yourself.
Yeah.
What's another cheesy thing? Oh, wherever you are planted, make sure you bloom.
I love that.
That's a good one. I think there's truth in, if you don't cringe at your past self, that means you're not doing something right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's also on the being more authentic. Like, I don't know if this is just an age thing. For context, I'll be 32 in a week.
Oh,
but crazy,
happy
right?
early birthday.
Oh, thank you. But like, as I'm getting older, part of it is I'm just becoming less patient, and I'm also just who I am, but more, because I just stopped caring what people think about me. I'm just gonna put myself out there. If it vibes with you, great. If not, I really don't care.
Exactly. And it's the matter of, I feel like people pleasing is something you grow out of.
Yes,
For the most
yes.
part. I mean, hopefully over time. Sometimes it happens faster than others. And it's a matter of like, we're reducing our patience, but it's also the amount of time that we're willing to have wasted by others and by things that we experience is also grown smaller. And I think, we only have so much time on this earth. I would rather be spending my time doing things that I like to do and being around people that I like to be around, rather than suffering.
Oh, absolutely. There was I was with a group of friends, and we were walking through like a supermarket or something, and they met another one of their friends coincidentally walking by, and they were having a conversation, which was fine. But after like 10 minutes, I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this. And I said, it was nice meeting you. And I just walked and did something else. I
Yeah.
tried to be respectful about it, but I just didn't have the patience left in me anymore. I wanted to go do whatever else I had
Exactly.
to do.
And it's like that's something that I'm trying to work on in terms of like splitting up my calendar. Because
Yeah.
it's the matter of like I got all these people I got to talk to, even though I got laid off recently. I'm still like I think super busy. And I think a matter of fact is just, I only do the things I want to do. I only talk to people I want to talk to. I don't want to go through pleasantries again. I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't want to talk about how my day is going. I like middle talk.
Middle talk
Is great. No small talk. Middle. I used to think that, with middle talk, you get to share your thoughts and your opinions. I don't need to tell you what I've been doing for the past, what's it called? Oh yeah, ever since the last time I saw you, I've been doing this, and this. It's like these are the places I want to travel this year. No.
Yeah. Tell me about your trauma, but don't bombard me with it.
Exactly. You gotta do it tastefully. Ease into it. But yeah.
Okay, very cool. I'm actually gonna check the clock really quick because apparently I never hit the button, and I've just been staring at a black screen.
All good. All good. Bada bing, bada boom, ba ba ba.
So we're right on time.
Yay. Okay.
There was a. Oh, got it. Okay. So a closing tradition on this show is the previous guest leaves a question for the current guest, not knowing who the current guest may be. And the question left for you is, if you had to rebuild all of your success today without having any of the knowledge, without having any of the resources, money, relationships that you currently have, how would you go about doing it?
Rebuild my success today. I would have spent time in places where my interests were actually aligned sooner.
Sure.
I think I would have, the risks. I would get over the stigmas that I had over things of being like, oh, I actually have to do this. I need to do this because this is what people want me to do. I would actually rather have spent some time. Maybe if I was like in a stand-up club in college, that would have been really cool because then I would be able to build those experiences sooner rather than later. Because I would have loved to be at like a higher level when I started doing things and committed myself to doing things. The growing pains, I wish I did those sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Yeah. And then do I provide my question?
I'll take it at the end.
Okay, solid. Yeah.
No, but I love that answer because I'm personally dealing with all of these things right now. Like, I wish I can go back and be like, hey, Jason, just focus on this thing because all of this other stuff doesn't matter. Part of that comes with time and experience. I literally just didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't know. And then if we did now, it'd be completely different. But, it took realization to get to where we are and to get to doing stuff that we'd like to do. And if I would have those moments, those aha moments sooner, I would have appreciated that.
The thing I'm currently wrestling with is I believe this is true to my bones, but everything I want in life is on the other side of the thing that I don't want to do. And I just have to take my face, shove it to the grindstone, and be like, okay, this is a prerequisite. I just have to do this, and the success will come after.
This is so real. But no, I get that. I think at the end of the day, I would love to just be in some sort of black box where I would be able to get the results immediately that I wanted. So great. Yeah, if I just were to go to sleep one day, wake up, have all the skills, have all the success that I needed without having to go through
all the bullshit. Yeah,
exactly. The bureaucracy, the challenge, the obstacles. I don't need that. I know they exist, but I'd love to be in the body of someone who's already experienced that.
We'll go find Adam Sandler, grab that click remote.
Oh yeah, let me fast forward on that real fast.
Anyway, Zahnae, this has been an absolute pleasure. It's been so much fun delving into, how Fun and Flirty got started because I've been in the proximity and part of it for a while now. I just never knew the origin story. Oh, yeah. So this is it's been a really cool deep dive. I appreciate your wisdom and your expertise.
Of course. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Before we actually break, where can we find you and where would you like to draw people's attention to?
Oh, yeah. So the Instagram account and the website. So We Are Fun and Flirty. That's the Instagram, and We Are wearefunandflirty.com is the website. We update with shows. I've been posting a lot of dating memes recently.
Yeah.
Just seeing,
Yes.
yeah, I've just been trying to up my content pipeline in terms of my own personal brand and my own stand-up. Zahnae, that's Zahanae on Instagram and TikTok somewhere. But yeah, all of that on all socials. That's been me.
Cool. I will
Yeah.
throw all of these links in the description box down below. I'll send people your
course.
way. Have them come out to the show. It's a great time.
Yay! Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me and thank you for being part of it.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers.